Welcome everybody. Looks like YouTube is changing everything around on me. Today, got one viewer already. You're probably wondering where I've been. Well, I haven't been sick. No need to worry about that. But I've been working and I'm just tired in the evening, so I haven't been on. But the project hasn't progressed. It's still sitting in the same spot. We're doing the same thing, and I'm going to finish this up today. I'm waiting on somebody to get here, so we'll work on this for probably a couple hours until he calls anyway. So it's the same thing. This is why I don't really like making these videos, because I don't know what you guys see in it. You know, it's the same thing over and over and over again. Anyway, the skin has been on the mold for quite some time, so it should be molded really well. So let's remove this and see what it looks like. Should be well molded, dried. We'll fit this up, see how good it fits. Hey, thanks for the like. Morning, Harry. Like, subscribe, share. Consider becoming a paid member. Helps me keep bringing content to you. I haven't been doing many perks here lately, but I got some things planned. But it does help me keep Stunt Hanger going. Okay. As I stated, I've looked back, and every year after the nets, I've started a new airplane. I guess I just get excited looking at all the pretty airplanes. Been going through my wood. I really don't have a really primo selection of wood anymore. Now this set of skins has some white CA on the outside. We're going to have to sand these skins good in the mold. I'll show you how I do that. It's not a big deal. The neatest thing about doing leading edges this way, and you guys that built the old way where they used a 1/4 inch or even a 3/8 or 1/2 inch square piece of stock in the leading edge, there was always a gap sanded into it, laminated, and that always showed when you covered the airplane. This way it becomes more consistent because you're not sanding it into the airplane, it's molded, and there's no laminate joint in the sheeting. So this is the way to do things. And for you guys that maybe don't have a hot wire or whatever, but do have a saw, you could use pink insulation. I mean, it's the old way of doing things. You could use some 4-inch pink insulation, cut it to the length of the wing with a hand saw or skill saw, some kind of saw, butter knife or whatever you happen to have handy, and then tack one rib on one end and one rib on the other end, and draw a straight line from center of the leading edge to the other and sand it in. You don't need a hot wire. It just makes things... I will say that as you progress in your building skills, you will progress in your tooling, because easier is always better. Okay, we got this rolled up. Okay. So we got our skin here. I remembered something on the last one that I didn't do on this one, and I'll pass it on to you. What I did was I marked the center line on the wood. There's a center line down inside this, and that's where the center of the ribs goes. This is not the correct way to do it. I then took the wood and put it on the center line of the buck, and then molded it. It's not correct. It's not 100% accurate. How it should have been done is no center line drawn, molded the leading edge, then stuck a pin in on the line and a pin in on the line on this end, and then put a straight edge inside, held it up, and I'll probably end up doing that so we get an accurate count. Held it up and then drew the line inside this piece after it was molded. 6 to 1, half dozen the other. Just way to be more correct, accurate. So let's sand up this leading edge. You want to put it back in the cradle. See this white stuff here? This white here is CA mixed with water. No good. So $220. Remember, you only get this one shot to sand these. You don't get to sand them after they're off the buck. This is not the correct way to do it, so don't do as I do, do as I say. I'm sanding flats into this right now. It's not good. But we'll get those flats out after I get this CA knocked off. If you were here, you could hear it dragging on this CA. Fortunately for me, this is the underside, so it won't be right out for God and everyone to see. Of course, it'll be tough to see anyway. Part of sanding is knowing when to stop as well. Okay, we got that all off. So use your fingers to feel the flats. Yeah, I can feel a flat right there. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but you can hear the clicking every time that it goes past that high spot. And just keep sanding until that clicking goes away. This is the correct way to sand an airfoil. Cross grain rolling. That got it. Okay, so we got, yeah, I got a little flat right there. I'm candling it now. And when you candle something, you hold it into the light and look over the top to see if there's any flats, and in this case there's not. So let's do the other side. You'll notice on the forum I've added a post in the vendor section for Sparky's framing service. I'm going to start framing up some airplanes again for customers. You have to get a hold of me with a private message for the airplane you'd like and a quote on how much it would be to do the woodwork. Now, I'm not going to do any finishing of any airplanes for the simple fact where I'm at. Takes me anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 to 3 weeks to frame one up. You'll notice here I got a little, there's white. That white is CA. Now I'm looking at it in the light to see the high spots on this and rolling it around. That feels pretty good. So now we'll switch to 320. I got 320 on a long block. And the biggest thing I can stress is, remember, this is your last chance to sand this sheeting. You cannot sand this sheeting on the wing. If you do, you'll end up with starved horse look. You'll see all the ribs. Even when you get the dope on it, the dope will tend to shrink it into the in between the ribs. So if you start sanding the high spots, you think, well, I'm just get the high spots. No, you just make it look worse. Okay. Let's see how it fits. That's left. Come on. I really hate not having any room to work. Absolutely no space. Okay. Okie dokie. Let's pull this together and see how it's going to fit. Perfect. Perfect. I want to make a mark on this to see where it starts, because if you don't, you could get it off when you set it on there, and then you got a problem on the wingtips. Now you'll notice that these wings don't fit together very well yet. The reason that I do that this way is it's just like building a foam wing. So I'm building two halves of the wing, and you could build the wing, the inboard side. If you had my jig, you could build the inboard side at your house, and I could build the outboard side at my house, and we could put them together and it would be a perfect fit doing it this way. I'm not sure, but I think this is how real airplanes are done, with jigs and things. Okay, so that rib is loose, so we're going to have to tack that down. The most important rib is the center rib here, to get a good tight joint with it, because we're going to sand this until they fit absolutely perfect perfect together, and then glue them in the center and then cut out the center rib. Please don't tell me I can't do that, because I've been doing it this way for 20-some years. got the dreaded glue bottle stop up again. Oh man. Come on. I just set the darn things over here. Got the wingtips cut out already. This is the center section. And we're going to build solid wingtips because I found those good blocks. So we'll use that and cut this one to the same to make it light. Because these are not the same, but I was building two different versions, but I can make them the same. Might use this one, I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. There we go, pliers. Seems like every time I go to use the glue bottle, it's plugged. That reminds me, I need to order some more glue today, so I got some more glue Monday. House of Balsa sells this micro tubing. It's a part number NEC-04, 6 foot of micro tubing for $3. 6 foot will last you 10 or 15 years. I don't know how much it is now, but it was $6 or $3. And these are the snorkels, and when they clog up, you just cut them back. They're a little hard to get started in the bottle. Not a big deal. I stick it down in about a 1/4 inch. And what I do is I put a piece of tape around it to hold it on. Zap CA bottles don't glue themselves. Yeah, well, we don't get Zap around here anymore. That's Frank Lucian. What the hell's that guy's name? Frank. He used to sponsor an ad on Stunt Hanger. Zap products. Steve, I don't know why you'd be watching me. You know how to do all this stuff. So that's what I do there. Wrap a little tape around it. Just a drop. Like I say, you want to use the glue sparingly. So many guys just glob the glue on. It's unbelievable. You know, I did buy a new bottle of glue. What the heck did I do with it? There it is. Thus is good. This Tightbond 2 oh, you never done a lost foam wing, huh? Well, they come out perfect. Got my belly out there. The dust all over my belly. Anyway, if you go to that Project Farm website and watch the guys test on Titebond glue or white glues or wood glues or whatever, this is the stuff that I think perform the best for our application. Now, it doesn't perform the best underwater, but God forbid we're flying in the water. I'm going to add the trailing edge first off. Remember, I'm a minimalist, so instead of quarter, I'm using 3/16. 3/16 spar, 3/16 trailing edge, 3/4 inch wide sheeting on the back instead of 1 inch. Because if you put, all you got to do is think about it. If you put 1 inch sheet here and a 1/4 inch cap, you have 1.25 inches. Now I have 3/4 and 3/16. I got 15/16 instead. So how much am I saving? Instead of 1/4 inch wide cap strips, I'm using 3/16. So for every one of these, I'm saving 1/16 of an inch on every cap strip. And if you do that times 4, you're saving a whole wing panel. It's leaving parts off. And the same with the spars. Really true with the center shear web, because if you use 1/4 inch spars, you have to use 1/4 inch shear web, where these are 3/16. I'm using 3/16 shear web, so I've really left off one side. The airplane only has to be strong enough to last 1 or 2 seasons. If you build it to last 10 seasons, it's too heavy. It's way too heavy. Because the heaviest thing on the airplane is the paint. And if you use my finishing method, you can get a 6, I'll be generous, 6 to 8 ounce finish. 8 ounces is too much, but 6 ounce finish, realistically. I'm not kidding anybody when I say that. But it's a strict diet. And if you go over the diet, it's going to be heavy. This is way too much glue. We're going to take some of that off. But I want to get a good bond on the trailing edge. I have in the past, this is from experience, I have in the past had high stress areas come apart from just using CA, so I try to use white glue on trailing edges. And ooh, this is bowing pretty good. So we're going to wipe it off. get some of this glue off of here. Put way too much on. Okie dokie. Now if you look at that stick, it bowed pretty good. But that's okay. We're going to train it. Bowed real good. So, tack it on one end, tack weld, came off, damn. Come on. Might have to hit it with some kicker. Yep. Boy, you don't want to stick with that glue on there. Sounded like it went that time. Yeah, came right off. So we'll tape it. I could pin it, but we'll just tape it. Might go flying this weekend, depending on the weather. Got to get ready for the Cleveland contest. Flying has been pretty sparse this year. Okay, got it taped. Eyeball it up. Pull her down. So a couple of things you got to do before you box the trailing edge is make sure you put the hinge blocks in there. Try to glue it in the center here. You could kill your airplane pretty easy, what I'm doing here. But I'm going to explain how this works not to kill your airplane. Okay, the wing was built in the foam cradle, so we know that this is straight. But we cut the trailing edge material from a material that we know has got stress in it, as you saw how warped it was when I put glue on it. So that's one direction. Well, the other direction is the way the grain runs from end to end. So first off, you want to choose your grain and cut your trailing edge so that it runs straight. Now if you look at this, how it's done, it's about twice as wide as it needed to be. So I just centered it up on there and then tacked it on the other end. And who cares how wide it is in here? We're going to wait for the glue to dry and then plane it down to the trailing edge sheeting and then sand it off, and it will be perfectly straight that way. Otherwise, if you cut this piece of wood, put the glue on it, if you cut the piece of wood the required width and tacked it on one end and then fit it all together down, it would be a snake. It would be crooked as hell. But doing it this way, oh, gotta turn it over. Let me tack this again here. Yeah, it's good. Doing it that way ensures, you could even weight this if you wanted, you know, put a book on it or whatever. But it ensures, let me see if I can get a camera angle on there. Not really. It ensures a perfectly straight trailing edge. And then the longer the sanding bar you use on it, the straighter that becomes. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I guess it don't look bad. Because, you know, I'm not an aerodynamicist or anything, but aerodynamics will fool you. If you have a 1/16 of an inch out, you think, well, 1/16 of an inch, that ain't no big deal. That airplane will fly screwy. It's unreal. So I try to use my machinist scale. Where did it go? It's up here somewhere. I don't need it right this. Oh, here we go. Try to buy yourself one of these. They're cheap. They're on Amazon for about $6. You get 2 of them. And you got graduations in 1/8, 1/16, 32nds, and 64ths. Try to measure to the 64th. It's a little bit difficult unless your eyes are real good, but you know, and a real sharp pencil. But if you're within a 32nd, that's pretty, you know, that's close enough. But when I'm building truck bodies, these guys, well, that's close enough, it's within an inch. No, you can't be that far off. Three inches out of square ain't cutting it. And believe me, I've seen it. This is a small machinist square. This is not going to be exactly, let's see here. Yeah, I guess it is. Okay, this is a perfect, it didn't look right, but it's perfect. If a guy ever says to you 3, 4, 5, that's square. 3, 4, 5. So you measure across 3 inches this way and 4 inches this way, and the measurement between this dot and this dot when this angle is square is 5 inches. So then you put your scale up to it. It's hard to hold it for the camera, but I'll try. So we have a measurement of 3 inches here. Perfect 3 inches. It's perfect 4 inches up this way. And this measurement, if this angle right here is 90 degrees, this measurement from that dot right there to that dot right there should be 5 inches. So you pull that up there and you see that it's exactly square. But you would think that out of a machinist square anyway. 3, 4, 5. So if anybody ever says that to you, 3, 4, 5, that's 90 degrees. Of course, if you're building something bigger, you could just make it 6, 8, 10, or so on and so forth. Let me get this phone call. Charlie Longwalk, you have food order? Oh, 여보세요. What's up? Okay, I'm 35 minutes sitting here. Yep. Yep. And we could ride together if you wanted. It wouldn't matter. Is your wife coming with you? Oh, your wife's not here? Oh, that's unreal. Okay, well that's great. Okay, okay, buddy. Okay, bye. All right, my buddy gets to come out and play by himself. All right, so 35 minutes. Yeah, we're right on time. So in about 35 minutes, I'm going to have to go take care of some business, and then I'll be back later on this evening. Now, I noticed last night that Rusty tried to start a YouTube chat. I don't know what happened. But he couldn't get it to go or something. I don't know. So maybe he's going to have one tonight, so maybe I won't go all through the night like I had planned on. Because this weekend I am going to put this together 100%. It's not like I need another stunt plane. Trust me. I'm going to do a photo op outside the front of this building too. I'm going to set all my airplanes out. We're going to film them all. Because I've never had them all out at the same time. But I got a few of them here. And there's more back in St. Louis. What does a guy do with all of them? So anyway, now we're going to cut the, I'm going to cut the shear webbing for it. And I'm going to show you how I do that. The first thing we're going to need is a piece of 3/16. 3/16. Now you know this is old wood because it's Revell balsa. How many guys have Revell balsa around? So, how I'm going to square this up, I need my steel square actually. Why do I, it's ridiculous. Can't find nothing. Is that it? Nope. I got gifted. Here's my doubler material. I got gifted some doubler material at the Nats. Tom Dixon said, here, you can have this. So this is 0.5 carbon. I got some 0.2, but 0.5 carbon for doublers is better. So we got doubler material for this. So I'm going to have to use my aluminum square because I can't find the steel one. I hate doing that, but you want to make sure this is square. We'll get started with that. Okay, we got that. So now I need to cut the correct height here. So in order to make sure this fits well, I'm going to cut them a little large and sand them to shape. Because these pieces need to fit good. Now, there's the square I needed. So I got the square so I can sand it to shape. That's steel square over aluminum square when you're sanding, because you're going to sand the crap out of the aluminum square. Now I need a ballpoint pen. There's a pen. Now you could measure this. We'll do that, I guess. Take your machinist scale and measure this up. Inch-and-a-half. The grain runs vertical on the shear webbings. Do not put the grain running horizontal. You'll fracture your wing. It offers zero strength. So I made a mark there. Get my my square. You see what I mean about not having any room to work? I think I'm going to set this other wing on off to the side so I got a little bench room to work. We don't need this yet. Now normally I cut across grain with a saw, but I'll be damned if I could find my saw in this pile of crap I got going. So we're going to cut it large and cut it with a knife. You see how it pulls out some of the chunks of the grain. Nothing I can do about it. And it's going to be big anyway, so let's see how it fits. Okay, it's large. So then I'm going to sand a 64th off of this. because you want these pieces to fit as perfect as possible, because this is the integrity of your wing right here. Yeah, you could put glue in it to fill up the gap, but glue is not as strong as wood. At least the glue we're using. I'm sure that JB Weld is, but then your airplane would be 1,000 pounds. Okay, you see that this fits in just snugly. It's not, you're not forcing it in, because if you force it in, it'll force a warp into the wing. So yeah, all this fiddling and fitting and all that stuff seems a little piddly, but you can ask Steve. When you're building a competition airplane, you see how nice that slides in there? It's kind of a feel that you get when you do feeler gauge. If anybody knows anything about operating a feeler gauge, this probably has about 1,000th interference fit, and that's only 1 or 2 swipes of the sandpaper, so be careful. So anyway, first thing I'm going to do is to get a rough cut. Save your little pieces, because those little pieces will come in handy. So we get a rough cut here so that it'll fit down in the opening. And if you make a mistake, you just move it to another spot and it'll fit somewhere. So let's see here. We're still a 1/16 of an inch too big. And I didn't measure it, I'm just eyeballing it. After building 1 or 2 airplanes, you'll know what a 1/16 of an inch looks like. So we're going to take approximately a 1/16 off. Still too big by about a 32nd of an inch. So we'll trim another bit off. You have to do this before you mount the sheeting. If you don't, I mean, I've done it where I've made these and threw them out and then put the sheeting on. I go, what did I do with those? But boy, what a pain in the rear that it becomes. So now we notice we have an angled rib, so we have to angle this leading edge of this here. And how I do that is just set it back a 1/16 of an inch, and then just take the knife blade at an angle and cut the corner off. So that gives a piece that has an angle, a bevel on one side, because the rib is beveled. And it's still not enough. So we're going to bevel it a little more. Usually the first 1 or 2 of these to get started is the tough ones. Pretty close. Okay, that's the first piece done. So you want that as a slip fit. Do not force it. It should be have about a thousandths fit. You notice how nice and tight that joint is and how tight that is. Now over here on this side, it looks like we have, you know, a large gap. But there, remember, there's a stiffener that are cut into this side that goes right here, and this particular piece will be ground out for bell crank clearance, so that it doesn't much matter. But you want that to fit nicely, and don't glue it in yet. All you're doing is fitting these for now. So mark it, that's L1. L1. So now we're going to make L2. I already know what the height measurement is. I'm going to make sure this is square. Like I said, I know it looks like a lot of fiddling. But all this hand fitting, is well worth the end result. When you set your airplane down on the ground in front of everybody and everybody goes, ooh, ah, how'd you do that? That gives you a good feeling. And all it is time. So we're going to measure here. Remember, I try to cut in 64ths. Very hard to get a 64th with a ballpoint pen though, so if you're within 32nd, you're close enough. The D-tube wing is the strongest wing that you could build for less. Now, if I would have made this instead of a C-tube, we could have made it a D-tube with a 16th inch shear spar. However, the problem is gluing or attaching the leading edge sheeting. Because if you make it a D-tube, you can't get in there to glue it. So we make them a C-tube and cap off the center section with shear webbing. Back in the day, we made the 3/32, we made the spars out of 3/32 and then cut out, this is for a D-tube, cut out the center section with a knife, marked those, glued the sheeting on, put that piece back in, and then glued it closed to close off the D. I don't think it was as strong as what I'm doing now. These shear web, you know what, I forgot. I've still got to make some landing gear ribs. I wonder if I already got them cut. I might have them cut already. These go out just to the landing gear. This is the torsional resistance for the landing gear blocks. And, well, of course, and the anti-fold stuff, along with the 1/8 inch basswood compression spar. Now see, I cut this one a little loose. It'll be fine, but it's a little loose. It doesn't. Well, it'll be fine. It seems like this end is a little narrower than the other end, so we'll cut it off this side. So you want to cut it a little long, and we're going to hand fit that one into the second hole. Now if you use the square to place your ribs, and the ribs are vertical in the cradle, when you cut this square, it should fit in perfect. Otherwise, you got to sand and fit each angle, which is a royal pain, but nonetheless can be done. So we still have to cut that angle because we have an angled rib, and this time it's a different angle. Like so. And once you build one or two of these wings, you'll know the angles that you need to cut. Now you think this is a lot of work, and you think a beam wing is a lot of work, but actually an I-beam wing airplane I can build faster than I can build this. Because you're actually building the fuselage and the wing together. It's all one piece. It's monocoque. So here we have a slight problem on the fitment of that. So what do I got to do? I need to angle this down on this edge here slightly. I guess it's best to sand it. That one rib is not perfectly perpendicular. What? I made a mistake? Yeah, I make mistakes sometimes. That's a good fit. So now we'll mark this on this side. And how you can do that is take your knife and just stick it in. But shit, we're only going to cut off 32nd of an inch. Okay, I just got to trim that 32nd of an inch on the other side. Yep. Still not enough. Cut it 3 times and it's still too short. Almost so. So one more swat at this. We'll sand that. When in doubt, sand it. Hey Gary. Okay. This is L2. I'll show you the fitment on this, and this is what it's supposed to look like. 3 lights. Thank you for the lights. The fitment on these, this looks like a gap, but it's not. Should fit up tight to the ribs. and tight to the spar without forcing. If you force it, you're going to warp the wing. So now, before I go any farther, looks like we got a slight issue going on back here. I'll just zap it. Frank Tiano. That's zap. I'm not sure why I can't get this edge to stick here. I guess my CA is getting old. Yeah, we got it though. All that counts. We got it. So here's the drill. I got a buddy that should be pulling in about 5 or 10 minutes. I'm going to end the stream. We're going to go take care of our business. And I'll be back later on this afternoon. And we'll go ahead and build this wing through until I'm done. I want to see what the thing weighs. Let's see what we got so far. We're going to find a scale. Where is my scale? There it is. Remember, most guys lie about the weight of their airplanes. I do not. I don't have to. Now I hear some type of message. Who the hell's that from now? I wish you guys would not text me. Just call. Oh, that's President Trump texting me. He's allowed. Okay. So this one has the landing gear block installed, but doesn't have the landing gear door installed. On. Let's see if we can get a weight here. Gotta go to mode. That's 74 ounces. Whoop. Four and a half ounces so far. 4.5 ounces for the wing, should be around 5 ounces complete. So when a guy says, my wing weighs 10 ounces, well, that's way too heavy. You won't gain that weight back. You'll be left out in the cold. 5 ounces heavier than my airplane. And believe it or not, weight does matter. I don't care what anybody says. You could fly one of my 58-ounce airplanes or my 64-ounce airplane and tell there's a big difference. Especially when that extra 4 ounces is in the nose. And that's what it ends up being. You got pipe hanging underneath there and extra fuel and a header and and a motor that's an ounce heavier. It's about 4 ounces heavier. But this one here, I think I'm going to go ahead and do a PA 75 in it, just for giggles. But we're not going to go with the pipe. We're going to go with the header muffler. There's a couple of things that I like about rear exhaust motors. It's clean. There's nothing hanging out the side of the airplane. I'm probably going to end up giving up 2 ounces on the thing, so it'll end up being a 60-ounce airplane instead of 58. This muffler weighs 1.8 ounces. And I think a PA 75 is about an ounce heavier. So that's 208 ounce difference. It's 3 ounces, 68, 61 ounces. Because I can build it with a Super Tiger 60 between 57 and 58 ounces. Just going to have to figure out where to leave some parts off. I've already thought about that on the fuselage, what I'm going to do on it. Leave some parts off, going to taper it way up. There's not going to have a whole lot of wood back there. And I've gotten away from the long lengths of 17, 18, 19 inch tail moments. Mine are 16. And probably shorten the nose up on this. So we're leaving wood off by shortening things up. So anyway, I'm going to end it up. I appreciate you watching. I'll be back in probably, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours tops. And until I see you again, fair winds, tight lines. We'll see you.